Laura Bennett needed a break. After a bitter divorce and months of stressful work, she rented a secluded cottage in the lush, green hills of Vermont for a peaceful solo retreat. The house, owned by an old college friend, was supposed to be hers alone for the week. No disturbances, no distractions. But things took an unexpected turn on the very first day. As she stepped into the rustic house with her luggage, she heard movement upstairs. Alarmed, she picked up her phone to call her friend. Before she could dial, a young man came down the stairs, startled to see her. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Who are you?" he asked, holding a camera. They stared at each other in confusion. After a tense call with her friend, the truth came out. The house had been accidentally double-booked. The young man was Ethan Carter, her friend's nephew, who was given the same keys to film a short project in solitude. Laura sighed. "Well, I'm not leaving." Ethan grinned. "Neither am I." After some discussion, they agreed to share the space for just 1 week. Day 1 to 2. Awkward beginnings. The first couple of days were awkward. Ethan was polite but quiet, spending most of his time filming birds, trees, and sketching scenes in his notebook. Laura, on the other hand, read novels by the fireplace, sipping wine at sunset. They stayed in their own lanes until one rainy evening when the power went out. Laura lit candles and Ethan joined her by the fireplace. They shared stories about her failed marriage, about his dream of becoming a director. They laughed, even cried a little. Something unspoken began to bloom. Day 3 to 4. Connection. Laura found herself noticing the way Ethan smiled when he talked about movies, the depth in his eyes when he spoke of loneliness. Ethan saw the grace in her movements, the confidence she carried, and the sadness she tried to hide. They cooked together, hiked the muddy trails together, and on the 4th evening, danced to an old jazz tune playing from Laura's phone. It was innocent but charged. Day 5. The shift. That night, they sat on the porch wrapped in blankets. The moonlight made her face glow, and Ethan couldn't take his eyes off her. When she laughed, he reached out, brushing a raindrop from her cheek. Their eyes locked. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," Ethan whispered. "You're just a boy," Laura replied softly, her heart racing. "I don't feel like one when I'm with you." They kissed. It was hesitant at first, but then deeper, real. Neither spoke of guilt or age or logic. In that moment, they were just two souls craving closeness, healing. Day 6. Hidden truths. The next day, everything changed. Laura tried to keep her distance, shaken by the feelings that had stirred. Ethan was confused, afraid he had crossed a line. But that evening, as they watched the sun set behind the hills, Laura finally said what was on her mind. "I haven't felt this alive in years, Ethan. But I'm scared."
"So am I."
"But I don't want to forget this week." Day 7. Goodbye? Or not? On the final morning, they packed their bags. Neither wanted to leave, but both knew the real world awaited. Laura gave him a long hug. "I'll never forget this," she whispered. As Ethan turned to leave, he handed her a small flash drive. "It's a short film," he said, "about a woman who finds love when she least expects it." She watched it on the drive back to New York and cried. 2 months later, Laura's phone buzzed. An email from Ethan. "I'm in New York. My short film got into a student festival. Would you come watch it with me?" She smiled. Maybe, just maybe, that week in Vermont wasn't the end. The city buzzed with energy, but inside the small student theater in downtown Manhattan, it was silent. The lights dimmed, and a short film titled Between the Pines began to play on screen. Laura sat in the back row, her heart thudding as Ethan's film unfolded. It was beautiful. Quiet scenes of nature, a lonely woman in a cabin, a young man with a camera, and the tender moments they shared. No names were mentioned, but she knew. It was their story. When the film ended, the audience clapped. Laura stood up to leave quietly, but Ethan was already waiting at the exit. "You came," he said softly. She smiled. "You told our story. I had to. It changed me." They walked through the city streets under the soft glow of street lamps. There was tension, hope, and unspoken feelings in the air. "Are we pretending it didn't happen?" he finally asked. Laura looked at him, her eyes unsure. It was 1 week, Ethan. A different world. But it was real. Later that night, Laura's apartment. They sat on her couch, sharing wine like they had in Vermont. Laura hesitated, still burdened by the world's rules, by judgment. "I'm 45, Ethan. I have a career, a history. You're just starting your life." He moved closer, gently taking her hand. "You make it sound like love has a deadline." Laura closed her eyes, heart pounding. "This could break us both. Or it could be the best thing we never planned," he replied. And then they kissed again, not out of confusion or need, but out of choice. The weeks that followed, they met in secret. Dinners at quiet places, late-night walks, stolen moments between her design clients and his film classes. It was thrilling but not easy. Laura's friends grew curious. One night, her best friend confronted her. "Is he the reason you smile again?" Laura didn't deny it, but whispers began. Ethan's professor noticed his distraction. His classmates joked about the older woman. One evening, as they sat in Central Park, Ethan sighed. "They don't get it." "They don't have to," Laura replied. But she knew this wasn't sustainable. The turning point. Laura was offered a project in California, a 6-month renovation for a celebrity client. It was her dream job. She told Ethan during dinner. He went silent. "So this is it?" he asked. "We fade out like some summer story?" She wanted to say no.
She wanted to stay.
But dreams came with choices. "I need this, Ethan." He nodded slowly. "Then go. I'll be here, making films about women like you." 6 months later, Los Angeles. Laura stood on the red carpet of a design gala, glamorous and successful. Reporters snapped pictures, clients praised her work. But her heart felt quiet, until someone tapped her shoulder. She turned, and there he was.
"Ethan."
He held up his phone. "I was in town for a documentary shoot. Thought I'd crash your party." She stared at him, stunned. "I never forgot," he said. "Not Vermont. Not you." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't think you'd come. I told you, love doesn't have a deadline." They kissed, cameras flashing in the distance, unapologetic, unafraid. Epilogue. 1 year later. Ethan's documentary won an Indie Film Award. Laura opened her own studio in LA. They lived together, quietly, peacefully, in a hillside home that overlooked the trees. Every year, they returned to the same Vermont cottage, where it all began. Just for 1 week. To remember the moment that changed everything.